Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. He's Kyle Fergusson. And Kyle, I'm just getting into it. Dude, Warcraft Battleground. Warcraft Battleground!
The real victory was the panel that sat dead quiet under interrogation by Jeff Kanata during their recent announcement a month ago.
Wait, what?
When Jeff was hosting the panel, and he was like, guys, what are you doing? Nexus lore, we don't have a Warcraft event. And they're like, geez, they practiced that in the mirror, man. Well done.
You're saying they looked into a mirror and asked themselves about a Warcraft event and then stone-faced it?
Yeah, I think they have some elite training over there to keep all this under wraps.
That it's almost like they're professional employees at Blizzard Entertainment.
Something like that. This is, oh my goodness, dude. It is beautiful. Everything about this event is so, it's crisp. It's a beautiful website, almost as though it was like a full-blown expansion. The map looks great. Other than Hip and Hop, that's the only problem, is poor Lunara apparently couldn't move on the map in trial mode.
That's kind of a problem.
You could only move in a series of small hops, and you had to click each time you wanted her to perform a little hop.
Yep. It's that's sad. That's no good. I mean,
that's one complaint in the world. That's it.
That is it. And that makes me wonder. Like normally, we need to move into news, but I'm so excited about this. I'm gonna crib from another show real fast.
Good news, everyone.
and they're not on the same board, so now we'll do this.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
Yeah, Echoes of Alterac has been announced as the next event coming to Heroes of the Storm, and with it is coming a technically a World of Warcraft specifically, Battleground. A Battleground that exists in World of Warcraft since vanilla. Alterac Valley is it. We were joking last week based on the freaking Reddit thread on the subreddit about, hey guys, we're gonna have 80 heroes in the next hero. We should have Alterac Valley. That person had no clue how right they were, or they're inside job. Yep. They're a Blizzard mole. They're a Blizzard mole. They were teasing us without letting us know that we were being teased.
Now, of course, the map itself is called I already did it. Alterac Pass. Darn it. I'm trying my best not to say Alterac. You know how many years we've had Alterac? You know how many years it's been since I played Alterac Valley? There's going to be some issues, guys.
Yeah. I would probably be having the same problem if it was any other Battleground and it kind of sounded like a different hero. But Alterac Valley is my single fondest World of Warcraft PvP memories.
It was something special, though completely convoluted and very confusing going in there in the first place.
I played after vanilla, so it all made sense.
Oh, okay. So you were there to, plow faces into each other on a bridge.
Yes. I also played Alliance, and my friends and I just loved just camping the bridge. We wouldn't leave. We would watch everyone else move on, and we would set up all our little hunter traps, and the rogue would hide in the bush by the bridge, and we would just wait for the first, horde group to come through, and bam, they're just all dead. It was our favorite thing to do.
I was a frost mage in vanilla, so I was camped up, and I was an Alliance then too. So I was a gnome camped up on that little hill over by the bridge so I could see everything and just drop blizzards on the bridge 24/7.
Good man. At least you weren't like a shaman just running in and pushing everyone off the bridge.
How would they do that? Oh wait, that was that thunder elemental thing.
Yes, elemental.
Later on.
Elemental shamans. I believe that was a thing you could do in BC. I may be mistaken. My memory is not what it used to be.
Well, it also was crazy simplified by then. There was like this whole collecting blood and turning into tokens thing and summoning giant beasts to fight for you, which was really sweet originally.
Yeah. But anyway, now it's coming to freaking Heroes of the Storm. It's not nearly as convoluted as I would argue the trailer made it look. When I watched the trailer, Kyle, we just had that conversation so that we can have this one. If you weren't aware or you weren't around for early day Alterac Valley and World of Warcraft, it was pretty nuts. Okay, so when they showed us this trailer, just something about the way it was presented, it seemed like, oh my god, this is like old school Alterac Valley. There's so much stuff to keep an eye on, but there's really not. It's very straightforward to the point that excites me. I don't want convoluted objectives. Give me my mobile map that looks gorgeous and let me throw down.
Yeah, it's not directly comparable to anything. You might call it like a mix between Battlefield of Eternity and Towers of Doom, but there's a Spider Queen element in there. So let's go kind of beat by beat, because it's really intimidating. But actually, it doesn't matter. One thing you need to understand is the objective, these prison camps that you channel and then protect while your prisoner busts out and turns into basically a Tomb of the Spider Queen lane push objective. Each team only gets one. It's not a Braxa situation where like you built up 50% and they got 100, so you get 50%, but they still get their 100. Only one winner. And the only thing you're really interacting with is the enemy side's camps while you try to free your prisoner. You need to defend your side, but that's a little bit easier. The best thing about it, though, is that there are, imagine Braxus and Nova, stealthy little Nova, just goes up there and takes it. And everyone's too busy battling in the bottom. What if little doors opened up and Marines came out and recaptured the pad? There is a built-in sneak cheese mechanic, basically. Imagine like a single turret shooting you in Towers of Doom, so you had to have a second guy there to hang out with you while you channeled.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You can like the first time you channel it, you're pretty much safe if another player isn't messing with you. There's, I believe, 3 guards, no matter, whether it's Horde or line side, irrelevant. There's 3 guards. Once you take them out, I don't believe more guards spawn until you've successfully channeled. And then you're kind of in open combat with these NPCs that are funneling out of the huts.
Yeah, I really like it. And of course, the NPCs are knights and grunts, and the lane minions are high elves and riflemen, and it's a troll spear throwers. It's great.
Yep. Yeah. So, okay, there's the objective. Dude, the art. The art is so good. This is such a beautiful battleground.
It's got all the bunkers. I mean, it's a nostalgic piece of work. Your spinning generals are spinning away, and they're replacing the core.
Yeah, dude, I had a very old friend of mine that I used to play WoW with back in vanilla up through like Wrath of the Lich King, just recently moved back into town, and I invited him over, and this news dropped, and I was like, Alterac? Huh. Well, let's watch the announcement trailer. And he doesn't play Heroes. And we're both sitting there being like, oh my god, the core is the actual leaders from the Battleground in Warcraft. And they work the same way. They're stronger if all 3 keeps are still up. They have like 3 pit marks underneath their health bars for the 3 keeps. And each keep that is destroyed weakens them, which is, again, a mechanic from the Battleground in WoW. So dude, I'm like geeking out so hard.
It's a great reference. For those of us that didn't play WoW, it's a pretty simple mechanic, as Garrett mentioned. You're going to have to destroy 1 keep to even access the core, the boss, if you will. He's going to have 40 armor. So if you clean up the other keeps, you reduce that armor down. It's rather elegant right now. He's completely getting his butt canned. It's under boss rules right now, which if you know how aggro kind of works, it's whoever's kind of most inside the boss, closest. If you've ever been like Leoric and then Stitches is really, really small melee, and he's absorbing all those hits, and Leoric has a bit of range, so he doesn't normally get aggro in that situation. But because it's an AI-controlled boss as well, it's going to target minions, which means right now it's kind of just ignoring all the heroes in its business, working on those gnolls that spawn instead of catapults. It's really awesome, and with a little bit of tuning, this is going to be spot on.
What do you think needs to be tuned?
Damage. I think I'd like to see the bosses probably prioritize heroes over the minions. Certainly when you get those catapult gnolls going, they're really healthy. And then your riflemen lock on, and then things going down. So it's a little too Winions when it's not a building. And I think that's just maybe a perception, right? This is a building. It's dumb. It shoots lasers. It's doing its thing. This is a guy infused with Ravenlord powers who is defending the entire Horde side. Maybe he should be a little more targeted.
Gotcha. But wouldn't that make the Winions even better if it was prioritizing heroes?
Right, because he has to get rid of that damage. There's no these gnolls I'm talking about are replacing the catapults though, so there's not some serious backline threat that he has to reach, as it were. If he's dealing with the frontline minions, he's dealing with everybody. But he's spinning, doing AoE damage, so why not kind of focus the heroes and deal with it all in one go?
Okay, all right, I'm with you. I just love that the core is a giant boss and it freaking regenerates, man. Like, if you don't get it the first time, thing's gonna be full health again when you come back the next time.
Oh, yeah, it goes back out. It's great. And this is, of course, early cheese protection. If you've ever played a game where the core ending is a boss, really great in the early game. Late game, though, he usually gets completely schooled, just like a normal core does. And that feels a bit odd here.
Okay. But do you think do you think it works? Do you think we need to be concerned about this going live? Do you think this has any reason that we need to fear that it might just get pulled in a month like Hanamura?
No. I think this is a really elegant map. It's beautiful, too. But Hanamura was beautiful as well, so that didn't stop them, which I praise them for. This is a very kind of easy tuning thing. And in fact, they've already pre-struck the number one issue I would see with the map, which is the experience in towers. And that's something that went live this week, actually.
Yeah. Wait, it's live this week? I thought it was PTR.
It's all live.
Am I
every
crazy?
balance. So you got Yrel, you got Echoes of Alterac, which you're going to have to wait on a week for Yrel, 2 weeks for the map itself. Alterac Pass. Damn.
Oh, so you mean...
I love Alterac. He's one of my favorite heroes. This is so hard. Okay. But already coming out yesterday, Wednesday, all the balances, the structure XP changes.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's in the live game. Okay.
So imagine, we're going to get to that topic eventually anyway, but imagine if you are on Tomb of the Spider Queen, but you had to have a focused, intense mid-battle for a prolonged time in order to get that turn-in done. Everyone now is located in the middle of the map, and those Spider Queens spawn and run all the way to the walls. They're guaranteed pushing 3 lanes like that to usually get at least one wall. So XP has been reduced on the walls, which means that while this objective is really strong, it has less XP snowball to it.
Gotcha. Yeah, at first I was surprised that they were pushing all 3 lanes, much like Spider Queen. For some reason, I had it in my head that it was going to be 1 lane at a time, more like an Infernal.
It's pretty. It's got an aura on it, which does help out your own heroes. But by being in its presence, you give it armor, 5 armor per hero, and that means that when you stack on top of these, because it is a melee spawn. Imagine your Tomb of the Spider Queen bosses being melee. They're going to get the aggro very quickly off those towers. So by being in their presence, you're giving them armor, reducing the damage they take from the neutral structures or neutral fires, the NPCs. And that can push a lot more. So that top lane that's left all alone doesn't get much done.
Everyone gets to be a specialist and buff the the lane pushers.
Yeah.
It's a fun twist because we're used to, we've been trained by the game to fight underneath the bruisers to gain the buff from the wizard. And now suddenly we need to stand close to a pusher to empower the pusher.
And with the way our mercs work, since we removed ammo from the towers, by the way, I don't think this map could even really work in a ammo system. So much of that has been cleaned up, and the game is forcing us all to fight with the things we make, to push with the objectives, to be with that merc camp, now to choose which lane you want to push an objective with, because the power you give will make sure it actually has push power rather than just hitting the wall and being burned down. it's a really big change in kind of our all, hey, we're top. Ooh, look at us, the Haka, Brightwing, go bottom. Yay! We distracted them. I like it.
Yeah, I dig it. It forces brawls like crazy, dude, because of the way that the objective spawns. They're very close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting because we have so many objectives that kind of force you onto the same area, right? Stuff like Braxis, stuff like Volskaya. But there's something I find fun about this, that there's two distinct locations, but they're still close, so you get chaos in the middle, all the while NPCs are still spawning and trying to screw things up at the edges.
It's a great little battle. And we didn't even mention the new mechanic. I'm almost like, destructible rocks. Mud!
Yeah! I kept forgetting about this and was wondering why I was suddenly slowed.
It's a cute mechanic. Basically, what they've done is added some spots, like bushes, normally where bushes would be, that you are now slowed, and the longer you stay in them, the more slowed you are. And these are in those prime gang spots. So if you're trying to do a sweet rotation, you could probably plow through it pretty quick. But if you're waiting in a bush for a gank, let's say, you're going to be pretty locked down by this here mud. And it could really do a number on pro level rotations.
Yeah. Well, shall we talk about the new hero?
Oh, yes.
Yes, the new hero was also announced, Yrel. We're getting our first Draenei, Kyle.
We're going to go with Yrel. That's what they've said in the video. I've tried my best. I don't want to do a Yrel every time I know I do Samuro, and I always feel a bit pompous about it, so I'm gonna do my best. But it always kind of feels like your boy Yrel. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I've always pronounced it in my head as Yrel, but we're gonna go with Yrel.
I think that's a bit more fantastical. I mean, this is World of Warcraft, right? They say Aegis instead of Aegis. So, and I think with the A in front, it kind of looks nicer, sounds more fantasy. So we'll just go with what the official video said.
Fair enough. Anyway, new tank coming, even though she's dual wielding a two-handed mace.
Yeah, she took me a little bit to figure out, just in a lore perspective. But I found a lot of comfort in reading the WoW subreddit, which probably doesn't get said too much. Pretty angry over there. But I was wondering why. I'm looking at the lore for her. I know on Heroes Forge they did Yrel, and her history is messed up quite. And here she is with a big old smile and being quite positive. So she got the Jaina treatment. She's sort of the embodiment of the original, pure, at the height of her power kind of character.
Yeah. It's like when we met her in Draenor, not what's happening now. She's kind of a Nazi now in the game.
I mean, certainly World of Warcraft has been Game of Thrones-ified. Everyone's sort of gray Jedi now.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Whatever the case is, yeah, she's paladin as hell, all the way to the point that at level 20 you can take a talent called Bubble Hearth, which makes me so happy.
It's pretty cute, and it can seem useless at first, but it's basically bye-bye. With a bit longer of an invulnerable cast time. After 1 second, you are out. And it's a level 20, which means if you were going to die, it's better that you lived. And even that 30-second walk back onto the field saves you 30 seconds of death, XP, everything else. Yeah,
it's solid. She took me a little while too, dude. It's funny. I wish I had recorded my first playthrough of her. I just went into an AI game and played her on the new Battleground, and within a single game, I went from like thinking this is the worst hero they've ever added and I can't stand her, to grinning like an idiot while I did a bunch of complete bonkers stuff that I shouldn't be able to do as a warrior.
Oh, that's interesting. So my butt heads was almost entirely lore based and a little bit on the damage front, because she's got a big old hammer, and that hammer to me, BC Raider, means a lot. Just seeing it. I don't really know what happened in past Draenor time, because I kind of missed out on that expansion, but that thing should hit like a truck, and it doesn't.
No, she's definitely, she's a paladin in Heroes of the Storm. Who's the other paladin we have? Uther. He's got a giant hammer made out of stone, and it hurts like a marshmallow, so it's consistent as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you got Holy Shock in my book, so you always got damage on your Uther if you need it.
Yeah, but you've got Righteous Hammer here, which is no slouch in what it can set up.
I think that's the only thing missing from her kit. I say keep everything as is. Make it a two-hander the size of Stukov, or maybe a little less. Right now, there's very little incentive for me to weave in an auto attack because honestly, I'm channeling 24/7. All of your abilities are 6-second cooldowns from the Q, W, and E with an augment to cast them instantly. The longer you charge them, the more effects and more damage, more pushback, more flight time they'll give you.
There's a talent later on down the road that reduces her trait, Ardent Defender, every time you land. Or not Ardent Defender. What's her trait? Oh my god, my brain. Divine Purpose. Divine Purpose. That reduces the cooldown on Divine Purpose. And as far as I'm concerned, this is my gut reaction to this hero. This hero is just all about waiting for Divine Purpose so that you can do some really dumb stuff.
Which is only a 10-second cooldown. So
yeah.
By activating your trait, you can do one of these fully charged up channeled abilities instantly. Whether it's a knockback, which is very kind of Cho'Gall-y, if you've ever run with his Twilight Hammer. And in fact, you kind of play the same way. You'd sort of wind up your punch, go in as Cho'Gall, and then knock people back into your team. Here you use your Avenging Wrath to sort of spread your wings, get distance, and flight over time, jump in, and then maybe use your Divine Purpose for that Righteous Hammer immediate swing, and then you'll probably go into a Vindication, your AoE, hit as many people as you can, heal, which is a great level 1 talent, and kind of seems like the obvious one into Gift of the Naru, which is where things start to get a little weird with her.
How so?
Gift of the Naru does a heal to a nearby allied hero for 400 at level 4 whenever you use your Divine Purpose, that augment that gives you the instant channeled ability. This is a pretty big heal, and it's got the range of almost Holy Light, so it's almost like she's packing a little Uther in her back pocket that's auto-healing people in the area. So we're not really sure if she's Tyrael, low damage kind of control with a Holy Ground of sort early on, or if she's more of a kind of Zarya or an off support, or maybe even if you really spec into this thing and play it easy in the early game, could she solo support?
I find that unlikely.
It is pretty unlikely.
I like it though because the way, like in my brain, just like you just made a couple different analogies to heroes that already exist. To me, she feels like a little bit like Garrosh with one less bit of follow up. Like Vindication does not work nicely into Avenging Wrath plus Righteous Hammer unless you catch multiple heroes. But really, because of the fact that you can lead in with a charged up Avenging Wrath without using your trait, then once you land, you pop your trait, you instantly Righteous Hammer, and you can just shove someone into your team instantly. But Vindication, if you're trying to like single target delete a character, Vindication is just kind of pointless.
Yeah, there's not a lot of damage, in fact, throughout her whole kit. And you can kind of think of her like Garrosh in that way. She, if solo tanking, will be a control tank.
Yeah.
And she will contribute control. And you better have a backline that you're willing to throw people into, like Garrosh, in this case, knock people into. Because otherwise, you're going to distance them from your team and they won't get killed. Or you'll punch a Thrall into the backline, which then kills everybody.
Yeah. And this is why I like being able to talent into like an auto heal on her trait, because then she's already seems kind of bad by herself. Like you're not gonna get anything done with your Yrel if you are alone. You want you want someone, if not a majority of your team, to be with you because you have set up for days on this hero. So knowing that if you're hanging out with Yrel, yes, an enemy will be thrown in your face every now and then, but you're also going to be getting healed while you're near her.
And I think as we've had this conversation, I think we're both leaning more towards a Garrosh kind of character.
Yes, that's again, this is my gut reaction. It's on PTR. It's impossible to get a lot of games logged because of the queue time. But my gut reaction is that I'm like, launch week, I'm going in, I'm playing her like Garrosh. I have this combo. I want to land that combo and set up kills for my team.
When we look at Avenging Wrath, it's kind of like a small Sonya leap. And then at level 7, she has access to Divine Steed, which gives her instant mounting and 80% movement speed decaying over 3 seconds. So when you take a talent like that and combine it with the rest of her kit, you've got a Garrosh with the anchoring, and anchoring being the keyword we use when we're talking about scouting on a warrior. You're basically standing in the bush saying, this area is safe. I'm making it safe by being here. And it is so. she can now be that forward kind of guard with the ability to jump over a wall, get back really quick if the team comes along. And that could give her a real unique role when you think about those roles alongside her, maybe ETC, Leoric, Tyrael. There's a reason why you might want Yrel over those characters.
Yeah. That being said, Hand of Freedom is also on the same level as Gift of the Naru, which was the heal for 400 talent you were talking about, and that seems really good too. Hand of Freedom.
Yeah. 35% movement speed for 3 seconds and removes all slows and roots. So great for your fellow melees to get on in there and maintain their damage. It's a cleanse of sorts, rather limited cleanse, of course, but another non-support version of it.
Hey, Malfurion's still pretty popular.
He's doing okay.
Yeah. I did not, by the way, read this fully when I took it. So my first game against AI, I died to Malfurion roots because I thought I could self-cast this.
Yeah, it can't be used on yourself.
Whoops. One last thing before we wrap, or at least for me, the last thing I want to mention is Divine Steed is the best talent in the history of this game, and I love it.
It's pretty cool. I mean, just like any character, if you get hit, you're going to be dismounted, and Hanzo allows you to get over a wall first, so you're normally not hit after you do it. You can screw this up. I know I activate it and then ride all of 3 feet where my mouse previously was, and then she stops, and I go, oh, whoops. I'm used to spending a second or two doing that.
It takes some getting used to, but once you're used to it, my God. It makes you hypermobile because you're not losing all this time channeling. You can just start moving to a new lane.
Yeah, she's an interesting combination, and I think it's well limited. Plus, her animations are beautiful. Like, she is really, really crisp, and she's loud on the battlefield, but very readable.
A lot of lessons learned and applied, I think, to Yrel.
Yeah. Not sure on those heroics, though.
I'm not either. Well, Ardent Defender I like. Again, I've only gotten to try her against AI, and AI are perfect no matter what level you set them to about stopping and attacking when you pop your Ardent Defender.
Oh.
I feel like in real games, depending on your league and especially early on, I think there's going to be a solid heroic.
Yeah, I mean, when we think of something like Divine Palm in the pro scene, the ability to stop people from hitting you, Ardent Defender, absorb 50% of the damage that's dealt to you as healing, and otherwise take no damage for 3 seconds. It is up to the enemy players, but I found good use for it in Alterac Pass by leaping over a wall and sort of hitting people out of it, and then taking all those tower shots while I'm in there.
Yeah. There's a lot of damage that you can opt into that the enemy has no control over once it begins. So it's fine. Not to mention, as you said, there's value, even if they stop attacking you, there's value in the fact that they stopped attacking you. And Avenging Wrath is only on a 6-second cooldown, so even if you engaged with it, there's a good chance that by the time you're to the point where you have to pop Ardent Defender, that Avenging Wrath's cooldown is down and you can now just escape for free.
Right. So there's going to be some really fun combos. Her other heroic, Sacred Ground, awesome 20, where your Avenging Wrath, can move this along the ground with you. Great for a big, slow push. Gives 40 armor until you leave the area, whether it's willing or not. And it starts its cooldown while you're in it. So 40-second cooldown could easily be 20 seconds by the time that fight finishes.
Yeah. At the same time, it's only for her, so this is where I start. It's the only time I start thinking about Tyrael. You compared her to Tyrael very early on. I'm just like, I'd rather have Sanctification.
Right, you're not giving anything to your allies here, and it's a bit of a double-edged sword, both these, because you don't always want to declare really loudly to the enemy team, do you guys want to stop hitting the tank, huh? They're like, yes, we do, and they just run past you and kill everybody else.
Well, that's why if I have to make a call right now, I'm going with Ardent Defender, because I would just say pop it in the case when you were going to die.
That being said, there's lots of fights, Cursed Hollow, even this new map where you're going to be camped out in one area for a long time, and if you absorb a Haymaker to get your armor turned off, well, that's one less Kael'thas who got Haymakered into the enemy team.
Yep. Yeah, overall, I gotta say, like, within that first game, I was just like, oh, this is clunky and slow, and I hate that my auto attacks are turned off while I'm channeling. And then I realized I should just channel my jump D into my push and set up kills all day, every day.
Yep, a pretty quick little combo, easy to pull off, very rewarding. Doesn't feel like you're doing it wrong like when you do it on Tyrael. Knockback is great. I just want to be rewarded for taking that break. When I jump in, I auto attack. Then I charge my Righteous Hammer and I auto attack. And right now, that feels like a lot of work for 200 damage.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's coming next week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am all for this. I love the BlizzCon Hearthstone style announcements where they're just like, and next week, everybody, sweet. No big deal. But we walk right on stage, we tell you what it is. No farting around the bush. And that's how this event was presented, too, for their stream they did. Just straight up, front, everything's out, get excited.
Did you just say farting around the bush?
Yeah. Is that not what you do?
You beat around the bush.
Oh. Well,
I mean
that's even less effective.
If your stitches, I guess you can fart around the bush.
I mean, I assume it's from hunting, right? Because you'd actually like reach in there and you're like trying to get a critter out. So you're beating the bush to get it to run out, but it's more effective to just reach on in there.
Why are you asking me for confirmation? I have no idea.
I'm just saying, like, you know, I think farting rather than beating would be even less effective. I'm enhancing the statement.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Whatever the case, Yrel lands next Tuesday if everything goes according to plan. Alterac Pass, however, we are going to have to wait an additional week and will not be dropping until June 19th.
That's okay. And this is going to be a big long event. It's got a quest with it, picking Horde or Alliance. And to have this right on the back of Nexomania, and also to make Nexomania look like, well, not as shiny. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I'm not going to complain that our follow-up event is infinitely better.
Right. I just feel bad. Like, I like Nexomania a lot, but now I'm like, get out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't find talk. Is Nexomania ending next week or when we get the Battleground?
Looks like the event starts and runs through June 12th. So it will be next week with the release of Yrel. What?
I was traveling for over a week, Kyle, and I may still be trying to get my El Guapo.
You can do it in AI.
I know, but I'm so bored.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's true. Do Butcher. Send them all the easy and do Butcher and see how much meat you can get.
Gotcha. I've just been sending them all the easy and doing Sylvanas and getting like 9-minute games.
Sure. I think one of them you have to get kills eventually. So I know Kristen and a couple of her friends busted it out in AI.
Yeah,
I honestly forget I have quests even because they all auto-complete in Hero League.
Right. Unless you're going a mad losing streak, because you have to win. You have to get kills in winning games.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So it's I have a very, very specific, very selfish complaint, which is I was traveling for the first week of this event and I'm still behind.
You can bust it out. It's not too hard.
I know. I did most of it in AI already, and now I'm to the final one for like the 100 kills or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't want to play AI anymore.
Do it, man. He's great.
I know. I must have him. It's so good. It's so freaking good. But, shall we talk about the June 6th balance patch?
We shall.
All right. So, let's start with armor, I guess, because armor has changed a lot. Well, armor hasn't changed, but where it exists on heroes has.
Yeah, they've made some very strong choices, and I absolutely agree with them. Basically, it was unreadable. Passive armors. There was no good way outside of clicking the hero and looking up in the top corner there to find out how much armor that enemy was under, if it was permanent or only of one type.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's basically gone. Like no one has baked in armor anymore. So in
this particular patch, they busted out Varian's taunt armor, Arthas's physical armor, Anubarak's spell armor, and Johanna's physical armor. And you may notice that from our old armor talks, Tyrael is missing from this. He lost that a long time ago during his rework.
Yeah, I can't help but notice Garrosh missing from this.
Well, Garrosh has a clear display, and it's one type of armor. And as he gains armor, it's displayed right above his bar there. In the end, I don't think they wanted Arthas or Johanna marching around with big old orange 10s and 20s next to their names.
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that.
No, but it's a fascinating exchange. And It certainly is scandalous today. Over on the Reddit there, they are convinced that Johanna is trash. Awful without her armor.
I mean, my gut reaction from a math standpoint is that they haven't added enough health to make up for this. I mean, it's difficult, right? Because a lot of, especially if you're looking at someone like Arthas or Nubrek, they had specific armor to either spell or physical. So how do you even reconcile that by just tacking on health? You can't really. But
well, and like you've got the math here, and we had 25 physical armor for Johanna. So did she receive 25% more health?
No. She received 8% more health.
Right. So it's not exactly an equal exchange.
No, Arthas didn't even get 5% health tacked on. He received the smallest amount of health bump. He had 4.9%. 5% was too much.
For a Nubarak, they did a really unique upgrade to one of his abilities to still give him that edge. And that wasn't present in our other tanks, Varian, Arthas, and Johanna. A Nubarak got 9% of his health for losing that spell armor, but also got spell armor, 40 of it, attached to his hardened carapace, which is his shield. If you're putting up a shield, you want to absorb burst damage in the first place, so hey, why not? And that's a great feature for a Nubarak. I saw him everywhere yesterday. And if you're looking at Hero League this weekend, I'd suggest you look the other direction, because what's happening right now is Arthas, Johanna were our premier tanks. We were also entering double frontline, not double tank. So this comes at a very interesting time, not a bad time, but a very interesting time, because we're moving away. We're moving towards Arthas Malthael, Arthas Ragnaros, not so much Arthas ETC and those sort of extreme front lines. Maiev, absolutely. Right now, everyone's saying Arthas is trash, Johanna's trash. We think a Nubarak got a buff, though, and so your front line is just awful looking out there. Be really careful about ranked. And of course, when someone first picks a diva because they used to play Arthas, the guy below him goes, well, I'm not playing Sonya, I'm going to play Lily. Well, you're playing Lily, I'm not going to do my main.
Yes. And again, it went live yesterday, so it's not like we've had a ton of time to sit with this. So my gut is kind of with Reddit on this one. I look at a Nubarak and what they gave to Carapace built in baseline, and I'm like, oh, that's nice that you gave a physical bonus armor increase to Rhyme, but I have to friggin' talent into that. And what else did you give him?
And there's some good suggestions rolling around.
Yeah. What else did they give him? 4.9% health? Not enough.
What if while he was freezing the Tempest around him, it was giving him some physical armor because he was all frosty?
Sure, but they didn't do that. So it just kind of seems bad. It just kind of seemed like they beat him to death.
For Varian, he got flat health increase by 9.9% and the armor taken away from his taunt. But this is a pretty big buff to Colossal Smash and Twin Blades, particularly Colossal Smash, that passively increases your overall health pool.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most interesting of these is Cassia.
I was about to say, did we mention Cassia? I think we moved past her.
Yeah, well, Cassia on that assassin front, but she has her avoidance, which gives physical armor against heroic targets. And she went from 65 armor to 40. Got herself 10% health for that.
So they didn't remove it, they just nerfed it.
This, I feel like, says a lot about where their thought process is. This is about winning in the draft. And all of this here is getting rid of what we did in 2016 winter by saying that the pros are drafting undiversely, and we can incentivize better draft strategy by giving certain heroes certain types of armor. So we see a Nubarak used in situations rather than Muradin. Both kind of the same kit, unless you're looking at Cocoon.
Now that I'm not necessarily against. I've never been a huge fan of rock, paper, scissors, especially in a game where you have talents. You should be able to talent into counters.
Right, and well, with Cassia, avoidance, that's a lot. And if you end up drafting an all physical damage team, Cassia might rock your boat.
Yeah. But that being said, my gut reaction is, this didn't feel broken. Why are we trying to fix it?
Well, it looked bad. And over the past couple shows, and I know we certainly talked about this on our episode with Dunk Train recently, the game has a lot of complexities, and we're often called the easy MOBA. Maybe we're not trying to get back to that title, but this was hidden complexity. And by taking the armors and putting them on like time-dependent abilities, they mention Greymane's Worgen form, Cho'Gall's Ogre Hide, things that you activate perhaps, that gives you a better and more understandable hidden edge than having just a straight up hidden edge and whoops, you didn't know about it. I'm resistant to 25% of your damage, Vala.
Yeah, I would still, I kind of want to move on, but I would still make the argument that UI could have fixed this.
I absolutely believe that they tried everything under the sun to make it look pretty and just didn't like what they made.
Fair enough. Structures, very different in how they're going to give us XP. It's been moved around, and there's just straight up XP missing from the game now. It got redistributed, but not perfectly. There's just some XP that's just gone out of the game. So tower experience has been cut in half. It used to be 500. It's now down to 250. To kind of redistribute that, fort experience has gone up by 20%, and keep experience has gone up by 24%.
So you remember back in February where I got on this very fine show and said, hey guys, guess what I'm doing? Nazebo farming towers. That's how I'm getting XP for my team. This is great. I like this a lot.
So it's great that you can't do that anymore.
I am having quite the giggle when I head into quick match right now and Asmodean solo pushing. And I'm like, Asmodean, man, that's not worth anything anymore. That's worth half of what it used to be. What do you... Oh, he's on the fort. Okay, we should probably stop that. Oh, he's on a keep. Well, that thing's really important now. We should definitely stop that.
This is a trend we're seeing in this patch, and I'm going to bring this full circle when we get to Zagara, but they seem to... I think I like what they're doing here. I think. I need more time with it, but I think I like that they're saying, hey... game doesn't really work for specialists like it used to. Why don't we give them some team fight capability and push their power late game? Also, let's push the 8 XP that you can get out of structures into the late game just by virtue of how it's stacked up deeper into the map.
Kristen said something fascinating when we were playing last night. She turned to me and said, this feels like 2016, 2015 Heroes. The fights are the centerpiece. No longer are those split pushes, that solo Dahaka, that Asmodean winning the game. If he gets a keep, yes. And that's the real power here. Think about our Alterac Valley example for Tomb of the Spider Queen. When you are, both level 8 or so, and they win that objective, and those spiders farm those front towers, it goes enemy teams 9, you're 12. Now... 9, 11, 9, 10. Honestly, it's a huge impact.
Yeah, it's not a swingy, right? I mean, this has been have we talked about it a lot on the show? Because I feel like you and I have had a lot of off-air conversations where you're like, yeah, first objective equals 2 a level lead. It's kind of problematic.
We definitely, I mean, in the heart of the game, right? We all kind of say things that are a bit more aggressive than we might say on the show.
Like, for crying out loud. It's pretty true, man. Like, come on.
No, absolutely. I mean, very rarely would I get on the show and say something like, I sure do like controlling my character there while I was locked down. Like, that's something that'll slip out when you're a little tilted, sure.
It's not the same, though. That's not the same. I mean, you were not wrong. More often than not, if you lost first objective, you were down 2 levels.
Well, in particular, we've talked a lot about on the show 2 levels. 2 levels are huge. 3 levels, they're gods, and they're not a thing you can do about it. Unless you really perform something really sweet, which would take a lot of coordination and quite a bit of luck.
Yeah.
So now those sort of leads are really reserved for when the entire base is gone and they have absolute control. And even when you're both above 20, these keeps don't have such a big impact anymore. But this does give a really good comeback mechanic. If they are 20 and you're 19 and you clear them and you get a keep, you're now ahead. Whereas before, you win an early fight, you get the obviously exposed fort and you're 3 levels up. That just didn't sit right.
Yeah. So, what your 1-day review? Yay.
Yeah, I really, really like this, and I've definitely seen the impact of it on quick match. I haven't played this change in Hero League yet, as so much has changed. Also, I did coaching and watched some streams yesterday, and I wasn't heading in there myself. Oh my goodness. The sights I saw were horrifying. Really, really, really like this.
Sweet. I guess it's time to play a little quick match for a while, right?
Well, and remember too, like we've now been accustomed to these towers providing so much XP. So when that Sylvanas is farming bottom lane, at least in my league, everyone drops what they're doing and goes and deals with it. So we're making that less impactful, and we've already got the community watching for that strategy in the first place. So I feel like this is such a healthy time for this to happen.
Do you think it's the right time to make us kind of change our meta knowledge?
Absolutely. Just like how we're moving into that double front line rather than double tank, this is the right time for us to do an armor change.
I like that. All right. You're bringing me around. Cal.
Well, I mean, you're an Arthas and you like Johanna, so I understand why. I'm sitting here pretty on a Nubarak like, whoa, hey, everything's great in the Nubs world.
That's a direct one where I'm just like, no, they messed up. They were a little unfair to Arthas and Johanna. But they were very kind to Kael'thas and Phoenix. They let them lose some weight, Kyle. They reduced their unit size.
I really enjoyed the flavor text on Kael'thas is that his flag or his cape got tailored. But we all know when he should have been out of those roots and got rooted by the cape, like some sort of Incredibles villain.
That's the rule, man. No capes.
Yeah.
No capes. But yeah, the radius is down on both of them. Kael'thas went from a radius of 1.15 to 1.0. He is now the exact same radius as ETC and Zagara, which I feel is still huge for a mage. Like, I know he's got the big shoulder pads and stuff, but he's a mage at the end of the day.
He's real small, and Yrel is tiny, or Kael'thas is really big. Trunder shoulders.
Yeah. And then there's Phoenix. He went from 1.25 to 1.125. So he's now the same radius as Stitches and Ragnaros. Also, Living Bomb got its periodic damage minorly buffed.
Yeah, interesting.
Very minor, 40 to 42. And it's the periodic damage. So
cute, healthy changes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take a break here before we move into buffs, nerfs, and reworks to thank our patrons, because normally we do it in between news and emails, but I don't think we're going to have time for emails today with how much is changing and getting added to this game. So if you like Into the Nexus, if you get something out of the show and you were thinking to yourself, I sure would like to give something back, patreon.com/ITN is the best way to do that. Show's free, always going to be free, but if you'd like to give $1, $2, whatever works for you, that's the best place to do so. This episode, we want to thank Todd M, Max VS, and Tyler L. Thank all three of you for the support. We really appreciate it.
And we'll be seeing many of you tonight for the Patron Bonanza, where we head into Team League. And of course, we encourage everybody, every Patron Bonanza, to be in the A-Move chat. Join up with your fellows and get in that Team League. Help fill it out. Get placed, get your rewards, in a happy environment.
I am looking forward to how crazy it's going to be tonight.
I'm excited, man. I'm on a mouthfeel kick right now.
I want to put some honest time into Zagara, so I'm looking forward to it because we're all on the same team. No one's going to be hate banning Zagara against me. It's going to be wonderful.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's a thing they did, Gary. You may have noticed where they removed armor from all the tanks and gave them health instead. So I'm going to be Malthael Leor.
Where were you going? Okay.
The next 2 weeks is going to be awesome.
I was like, where are you going with this? All right. So, yeah. And, if you didn't know about it, we call it the Patron Bonanza. We do 5 to 6 Team League games once a month. We have signups, so if you are a patron, that's a perk that you get. Patreon.com/ITN. Let's move into buffs, nerfs, and reworks. Tiny buffs to 2 supports, Brightwing and Stukov. Really small nudges into the green for them. Soothing Mist heal is up. Blink heal is up. Same thing for Bio Kill Switch and Healing Pathogen over on Stukov. The biggest change being the healing pathogen on Stukov. It got just shy of a 6% increase.
Both are up slightly in win rates, but of course, everything's changed with this armor in the front lines as well. So we'll report next week how these supports fare.
Yeah. As for nerfs, they just can't stop messing with Genji and Maiev. I always struggle with her for some reason. So you've got 3 more seconds onto Cyber Agility and level 1's Agile Dismount. So that means 15 seconds between those rage-inducing jumps unmounted. And if they talent into Agile Dismount, 10 seconds between the mounted jumps.
Yeah, they're sticking to the health, which a lot of people called to be removed.
I think that's okay. Because to me, it's the damn jumping that drives me bananas.
I agree. Hitting Genji isn't insanely difficult. So once you have a hold of him, you feel rewarded for counting his engagements. And same thing with Tracer. When I count out recall and her various dashes, I feel rewarded for getting a hold of her no matter how long it kind of takes to burn her down.
Yeah. As for Maiev, the Umbral Bind has had its cooldown upped as well, a full 2 seconds. So that's now 14 seconds that you don't need to worry about getting chained again. On top of that, Spirit of Vengeance is getting a little more complicated. It's going up to a 13-second cooldown, but it's receiving a massive damage increase, but it's losing its bonus damage, but it's also gaining functionality in that it reduces the cooldown of Spirit of Vengeance by 4 seconds anytime you hit an enemy hero with it.
This is a gauge they've been using a lot recently, and you'll find it on Yrel as well. She has a cool talent where you can do basically 2 Avenging Wraths, but only if you hit a hero, so you can't do a double jump. And they're limiting these things in that way. It's a creative use of that sort of ability, but we're seeing it more and more.
Yeah. And this also rewards, if you're playing against Genji, if you're playing against a Maiev. And anytime I love increasing cooldowns because it's something you should be keeping track of. So if you've read these notes and you now know how much time you have in between these abilities, if you're playing against a Genji or a Maiev, you have a leg up.
This damage increase means that there is now flat damage on your Spirit of Vengeance for lane clear, which is kind of interesting if Maiev could go off and do that duty a little bit. Poor Blaze, man. Oh my goodness. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the reign of Leoric, but Blaze has become one of our lowest win rate heroes. And if Maev's able to kind of take a solo lane from time to time, we could see her in just about every match.
Yeah. That's really all she's missing, right? Is solid lane clear.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong. Let's see what's going on with Lunara. Popular talent Nature's Calling is getting a 16% nerf to its bonus damage. And then Choking Pollen is getting a large buff to its bonus damage, but that's a pretty underpicked talent.
Right, but the exciting thing about Choking Pollen is that it might give you a way to avoid heavy blinds or physical armor, which is actually, sort of being removed in some ways. So Choking Pollen could be a great way for her to enhance her spell damage over the course of a game. Nature's Calling, I think we all kind of predicted was going to get knocked down a little bit, moving from a level 7 talent to level 4.
Yep. Yrel seeing some nerfs. Pretty quick turnaround on this one. Yeah, they're minor, right? They're not crazy. They're like really minor health and regen reduction. So barely over 3% nerf to both of those. Then Sacred Sweep had a large amount of damage removed from the outer area, and a little bit of damage added to the inner. So Sacred Sweep overall a nerf, even though the inner damage area is up. It's not up by a lot. It went from 171 to 180, while the outer area went from 57 to 45.
This is fine. If you're playing Yrel right now, keep playing Yrel. I'm sorry. I've got tweets this past week from people being like, Kyle, stop telling about Yrel. I love Yrel right now. She's great. And she is losing a little bit of that lane clear. But that's an interesting part of this puzzle. Lane clear. Our tanks are losing mitigation. Their armor that gets rid of the damage they took in the first place. How are we going to heal off all that damage? We could end up back in double support if Yrel has enough lane clear. But if we limit support's lane clear, we have to run a specialist or another assassin or a solo laner tank of sorts. So this could just be preempting Yrel running alongside Lili or Uther or what have you.
That's a good thought. And you pointed this out a couple of patches in a row now, that it really seems like they're taking into account the effect certain changes may have. That they already kind of see it coming down the pipeline. Oh, wait, if we change this meta's coming back. So we also need to make this change in addition to that to try and stem the tide of going back to old habits.
I think someone on that design team wakes up in the middle of the night thinking about released Leoric and can't fall back asleep.
Just, what is it, honey? I was just thinking of release Leoric. Oh, release Leoric again? Oh, I know. It's all right. It was just a dream.
It's that darn Diablo event again, isn't it?
Man, I loved that event. That was one of so exciting getting in-universe stuff added to the in-universe battlegrounds added to the game for the first time.
Oh, it was great, and we were desperately in need of Diablo characters, and we got Butcher, Monk, Johanna, and Leoric all in one big pile.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. Are you ready? I came out of the cave for this.
Okay.
I was down. I burrowed into a nidus. I was covered in creep. I was connecting pieces of paper on a cork board with red yarn. Zagara's getting a rework. Or got a rework.
And it's dual treatment.
Sort of, yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. God, there's so much here. So in the dev comments, they're basically saying, hey, things have changed a lot since Zagara was added. We're gonna try and give her some team fight ability and also increase her abilities late game while nerfing her early game. And that's exactly what they did if you look at what happened here. So creep tumors, their health is down rather significantly from 150 to 125 at the start. They have increased the scaling from 3 to 4%, which is a rather large change. But Kyle, I did something I never do. I started a spreadsheet because I wanted to know at what point this is actually better than it used to be. And it's not until freaking level 19.
Whoa.
Creep tumors are just worse than they were before until you are almost level 20.
The big question is the Hunter Killer.
The Hunter Killer is better than it was before at 14, strictly from a health perspective. Hunter Killer, this is just good. I'm just pumping my fist and rah-rahing about the changes to the Hunter Killer. Yes, the Hunter Killer lost over 10% of its base health from where it starts at, but it gained health scaling much the same way Creep Tumors did. But the big thing with the Hunter Killer is that the damage scaling is up. It went from 4 to 5% per level, and it did not receive a base damage decrease. So the damage is the same as always has been, and now it's just straight up better from level 2 onwards.
This is really interesting if you've kind of followed us since the scaling balance change, which I guess would put it in the winter of 2015, if memory serves correct. Basically, Zagara was given more stats than she should have had by math standards and other hero standards so that she could be an early game bully. But as the game goes on, she would only advance at about 3%, 3.5%. So now they're tuning her down, but making sure she really cranks up as the game goes on.
Right, which I think is smart. I think is good. I mean, it doesn't feel that bad to me. With the changes to towers, you probably want to pair your Zagara with somebody else anyway because there's not that much value. Outside of just soaking, she can still soak just fine if you play safe. My biggest concern here is creep tumors. You know me. You know I love my perfect creep highways, and my tumors are going to die to basically every piece of incidental damage the game has to throw at them.
Yeah. Placing them is going to be stronger. I'm a little undecided about this at the moment, but I'm also playing in a bad style. You know, when here, as you mentioned, kind of level 14 hits and your Hydras have more health than they used to, they're doing a lot more damage than they used to, but my brain still says, level 13, they team fight, I push. I split push. I'm split pushing.
Right. I'm honestly, the time, for me personally, this is all biased. Anytime Zagara comes up, just know, listeners, I will be biased because I've played a lot of Zagara. And when I first really got on board with Zagara, I played her as a team fighter. This was back when she still had that regen talent, so you never had to go back. You didn't have to take Nidus. You just went for Maw. I kind of want to go back to that. Now she doesn't have the regen talent. They're not adding it back to the game, so I feel like there's still going to be major mana issues on a Zagara that doesn't have Nidus, and I feel like maybe they need to address that.
Yeah. Overall, though, they've countered what they did with the tower update, the ammo update a while ago. Zagara used to play in a style where she would sort of run halfway into the lane, throw her roaches, her infested drop, against the wall so it would burn the ammo, and then do that over and over again to get rid of the ammo. It was rather silly. And they never updated her after that, so that strategy is left. And in fact, infested drop is getting some serious damage on it now. Yeah,
the damage scaling is going up from 3 to 4%. Again, we're seeing a health reduction on the roachlings, but I don't really care. Their health scaling is being increased, much the same way the creep tubers are. But then also the roachling damage itself also is having its damage scaling increase. So the impact and the roachlings themselves will now be doing more damage than before. The only thing getting nerfed on the roachlings are their health.
She got an update on corrosive saliva at 16, so she does more giant killer damage. Oh, just like my Malthael Leoric. Might be good.
Yeah.
It's up against Muta still, but
it might be. And then they're also what is that? Level 16 Brood expansion. They're buffing it. The cooldown reduction is going from 6 to 7, and now it also reduces Hunter Killer's mana cost by 30. So this is like the one place where I think they're kind of addressing the mana concern that I have, because if this goes down the road that I think they're pushing us down again, back towards a team fight Zagara that goes Maw, you don't really need to take Hydra. The reason you take Hydra before is when you had Nidus, you had basically battle momentum, and you could just add Hydra or Mutalisk to the lanes and create a larger push. If you're not taking Nidus, taking Mutalisk is less attractive.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And if you're going Maw, you're going to have a little bit of mana issues, so why not take some Brood expansion? Oh, that's an excellent point on it. I think the deciding factor on mid to late game impactful Zagara is going to be the collateral splash damage. I used this in a game against a Varian yesterday, a Colossal Smash Varian. Well, guess what? Varian really doesn't have any AoE options. He had to either smash me or smash a Hydra, which he's not going to do. So he got destroyed by it. They also have a bonus 4% movement speed, which isn't much, but that means at a walking speed, Hydras will always catch up. If you can attach these to somebody who can't clear it out fast or has to make a choice if they clear it out or attack you, it does a lot of damage.
Yeah, it does. Now the health is down, and again, so incidental damage again is still more detrimental to the Hunter Killer in earlier stages of the game. Again, till level 14. But overall, on paper, I like this. Haven't really had any time to test it. Been just trying to get my damn quest done while also enjoying the PTR. But on paper, I really like this. I have not been playing Zagara. I don't think she really has a place, has had a place, even when Tower XP was the way it was 2 days ago.
She was too slow.
Yeah, and with these changes to Tower XP, she really didn't have a place. So this is again, in theory, this is a Zagara for modern heroes.
I mean, honestly, my opinion with these tower changes too is highlighted by the fact that the strategy of this week was Illidan Jaina, and Illidan would run to the towers, dodge all the tower shots, and Jaina would drop a blizzard on top of the tower. Illidan disengages, and they do it 16 seconds later. Over and over and over again to farm those towers.
Wow.
Thrilling.
Interesting, for sure. And then Diablo, just kind of getting buffs across the board. According to the devs, he has been underperforming, so you were not crazy, Kyle. Diablo was...
Stats supported my crazy.
Yes, he was kind of in dire straits, so... Health is up. Regen is up. Basic attack speed is up. That's one I didn't see coming. It's a minor increase, for sure, from 0.91 to 0.95. But
it's a buff to your auto attack heal.
Yeah, it is. It is. Fire Stomp getting a minor nudge, a 4% increase in its damage. Or sorry, not the damage, the healing. The healing that you get off of Fire Stomp. And then
I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And this is this kind of thing too. Like you and I are both like looking at Zagara's rework going, I don't know about those creep tumors. That's something they can adjust. And that's what we're seeing here with Diablo. Like, yeah, they came in a little weak with Diablo, and now they'll make a change. So they'll make it right.
Well, and the way they actually augmented this too, they need to up the healing because it's based on the damage that Diablo deals. So they have plenty of things to tune for this. Perhaps the most bizarre one of these is a buff to Devil's Due.
Yeah, pretty sizable. I mean, it's a 2% bonus rate, and it's going up to 2.25% bonus. But when you're dealing with numbers that low, that's a big change.
Yeah, and that is a very powerful talent, but all the level 1s are getting enhanced. So Diablo was getting picked. I'm not seeing him winning quite yet, but it's such a different character than we were playing. I am constantly seeing throughout Diamond Masters League, Diablo's charging towers forwards for the bonus armor. And then we go, whoops. That only works if I take a talent and hit a hero.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, Diablo's kind of a dangerous hero. You need he's got to be difficult for them from a power standpoint, right? Because of the nature of his charge and the nature of having a stun like that on tap. I feel like it's a hero you need to be conservative with. Why Garrosh is still as good as he is, I don't know, but
I think that's a difficult puzzle too, and certainly Diablo left that void behind him with Devastate Charge on its way out from percent-based damage. Leoric just owning the win rates right now. Tychus doing really horrible, but that usually speaks to the amount of CC in our games.
Yeah. Yeah, so... but yeah, we just need more time. I mean, this went live. All this stuff went live yesterday. We're getting a new hero on Tuesday. Game's going to be in flux. We're going to have to see how a lot of this lands.
Yeah. And Lightning Breath has become number 1, so that really supports our double front line. Diablo doing a little bit of control on the enemy side, while another assassin perhaps runs amok. There was a very creative bug with Diablo, by the way, this past week. That was hot fixed out. Apparently, the fire was so bright you couldn't click inside of it, so allies could hide inside of Lightning Breath and avoid being selected.
Huh.
Yeah.
Didn't notice that.
No, it was fixed very fast, and that, of course, was running amok in Masters for all of 3 hours.
That is problematic. I understand why they would fix that quickly.
Really cool ability, though. I mean, kind of... I always think of the slime or the oil in Mario Kart, right? Messing with people's vision. What if Diva's zone, you just simply couldn't click into it, Defense Matrix?
Yeah. I think we have time for an email, man.
Let's do that.
Darkness stopped calling.
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Okay, tell them I'm not here.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Steven writes in and says, while I was listening to last week's podcast in regards to Yrel, why not give her mana like other heroes and have her energy act as a bonus heal, perhaps percentage-based? Love the podcast. I listen to it often during work. Oh, wait. Okay, let's answer that first. So this is a two-parter. I didn't even realize this. So why not just give her mana?
It's not a bad idea.
I have a feeling that this question came in maybe 2 weeks ago, because this was definitely, we had this conversation before we realized Yrel was good again.
That's true. But it is an interesting conversation to have. And as we fill out our game with things like Phoenix, and of course, we all kind of remember Genji's arrival on the scene, it's interesting that we have some mana-based interactions like Malfurion, but not all heroes can benefit from those. And in particular, Yrel is very, very weak to poke. If her team, and needing a poke herself, if her team can't do any damage out there, she's not going to have any healing to give. And you can lose in the draft if you messed up. Like this past week, I saw a Alexstrasza picked for an all-melee team into poke. As you get poked down, it costs Alexstrasza her health to get you back. Alexstrasza could not heal off the amount of damage that was being received, and she was whittled down by her own duties.
Really?
It's an interesting part of the draft.
Yeah.
And I think with tanks and supports, I don't think things get as rock, paper, scissories there, because you're not ruining someone's chance at playing the game like you would with maybe a CC lock or just a devastating long-range assassin.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to talk about this hypothetical now, knowing what we know, that Yrel had to receive a nerf because she's been so successful since the two kind of pushes that they gave her over the past month. But I don't know. I mean, she's just so unique, and she needs to be fine-tuned. And I think they're doing a good job. I think the minor adjustments into the red for her that we were seeing in this week's patch, I think it's smart. like you said, Kyle, with the changes that they made, they probably need to rein certain things in so that we don't end up being back into a double support meta.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see where this all goes. It's so easy to think of these as mistakes from the design team and the balance team, but these are all bold choices, and I really appreciate their willingness to change things so drastically. And Armor served its purpose for a time. We needed draft diversity really bad. And I certainly can't fault any designer for saying, gosh, I just designed 20 mana heroes. Can I do a mana list? Could he be based on cooldowns? Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, you'd have to adjust your cooldowns too, right? Like,
yeah.
Suddenly her cooldowns would have to be longer because they're relatively short for a healer. But I mean, I don't think it's impossible. She'd be pretty weird to get your head around if you're playing other supports and then land on her, though, and she has 2 resources. She has mana to cast the thing, but then she can also put a crown on somebody and get energy to increase the effectiveness of what she's casting with the mana. So I like her as is, and I mean they've helped her with her self-hope generation, right? And that's
dramatically.
That's something that you can give more of or take away depending on how the game shifts, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, I don't know. I like Yrel as it is, and I think it's fine if we go through periods where Yrel is not the best pick in the world.
Agreed.
Steven's second question was in regards to Sonya. Steven asks, how the hell do you kill her? I've been playing quite a bit of quick match lately due to time constraints, and every time there's a Sonya on the other team, I know it's going to be a difficult game. My last quick match was against a team with a Sonya. We would get her to 5 to 10% health, but every time she would whirlwind and heal back to full health. I know Garrett loves his Sonya, but do you feel that she is still too strong as a bruiser? No, they have beaten her into the ground. She's very much killable now.
I can see in a quick match scenario why you can definitely feel like she is unstoppable, because much of the counter to her is to stun her.
It's lockdown
during whirlwind. Yeah.
Honestly, think of Sonya like a Genji or a Tracer with no movement ability. So they gave her a bunch of health to compensate. How do you kill Tracer? How do you kill Genji? It's the same way you kill Sonya. You need to stun them. You need to lock them down.
Yeah, it's only a 5-second cooldown between whirlwinds. It does cost a lot of fury, so you are denying massive amounts of healing and a very low return on her fury investment, which she had to generate. So it can feel stupid. And no one can handle the lanes, so you're solo lane Uther versus Sonya, and it can be won if you counter every single of those whirlwind, every single one of them. You can keep her health down and whittle her away.
Well, and whirlwind's only as effective as you kind of allow it to be. Are you fighting Sonya in a minion wave? Don't do that. Are you fighting Sonya all 5 of you so that her whirlwind can hit all 5 of you? Don't do that. If she's only hitting one person with whirlwind, you can just still kill her. Like, you don't even have to stun her at that point. Not to mention, there's a trend for Sonya's to be going now towards a more slam and auto attack oriented build in the first place.
There's a lot of quick match summoners as well. Zagaras and Asmodans.
That's true.
Nazebos, and I see you guys, and we all do it too. We're like, why won't you die? And we just keep summoning as hard as we can, but you're just supplying her more targets to heal on.
Right. Yeah, getting a Sonya in a zombie wall is actually sort of a bad thing, and it's weird, but it's an interaction of Whirlwind. Hurricane.
She heals for 25% of the damage she deals, tripled versus heroes. So you've got some really cool, very hidden things you can do as well. And I call them the drippies because we really don't have a better name for it. It's a bunch of sort of black mist and arrows flying downwards that occupy the character's kind of body space as an aura. This is a decrease in damage, and anytime you can apply it, you can really throw off an enemy who heals based on the damage they deal. Leoric's got a great one of these. There's some point-and-click ones on things like Tassadar. Yrel's got a really, really good one on level 13 tied to her AoE heal, and you can apply 30% reduced damage to the whole enemy team with a good jump. Yeah,
I really like that talent, by the way, on Yrel. It speaks to me. It also makes you want to think, like, change up your jump. This is, I think, the natural place is to jump in and then displace, but with that you can jump in and reduce damage. But yeah, I'd be curious to talk to Steven, like if we were talking one-on-one and have a back and forth, I'd be curious how Steven fares against things like Genji in quick match, because it's quick match. If you don't have the counter, certain things can be extremely oppressive because you're not in a draft environment, and sometimes you just get a bad beat in terms of the matchup.
I think too, the quick match Sonya grabbing those mercs and plowing down those towers just isn't going to be as valuable anymore. And we could see a change in play style, but we'll also have a good 2 weeks of just Sonya's kind of slamming those things as hard as they can, wondering, why don't I feel better?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I don't want to save your emails if you're going to be like, oh, Garrett, what are you talking about? Sonya's still fine. Like when I say like she's very killable, I mean just before she was busted. She was so hard to kill just a couple of months ago, and now she's balanced. I would argue that they've achieved what they're aiming for. Like Sonya is a solid hero. I don't think she's overpowered. I don't think she's underpowered. I think she's right where she needs to be.
Yeah, and if you're split pushing and not participating in the team fight, that could be a detriment. So team fight Sonya could come back in a big way, which make her more regeneration as she goes for more of those whirlwind talents, perhaps. I don't think we have to worry about her becoming main tank anytime soon, at least.
No, not at all. Good God, on Hatsalog, she has dropped below Nova and Alterac.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she's finally dipped below the 50% win rate.
Yeah, Deckard's down there too. I mean, we're looking at 49%, so you know.
Yeah, well, Deckard's been on the rise, basically. I mean, he's a little bit down in the last week, but you remember where Deckard started.
Whew, Deckard is a beast to me, and just his current reign of fun, I would say. I don't think he's necessarily more effective than maybe your Yrels. You know, I'd really kind of keep him on par with a well-played Lily, but those roots just ruin any of my Clunk heroes. I've been playing a lot of Gul'dan recently, and you've got no chance.
Yeah. Things are shifting. I've been playing a lot more quick match than usual as of late. I've been having fun, but I'm with you, Steven. I have certainly ended up in multiple games where it just felt like there was nothing I could do based on the composition that we had versus what the enemy had.
Well, and we're in a transitionary period. I really can't think of a season that I have played less Hero League in. And not because it's bad or I want to avoid it purposefully. It's just constant changes to the front line, which makes the whole world go round, makes the game function. You got to hold points after all.
Right. You like to prepare. You like to figure out the puzzle and then apply it to Hero League. So they keep giving you new pieces.
Oh, and I love it. Oh, what a great time to be into the game.
Yeah. So I completely understand that. I'm a similar way with Hearthstone. At a certain point, I'm like, it's time to grind the ladder. Shoot, I don't know what's going on. I need to just try out some decks and figure it out.
Back to the drawing board. I'm really excited to see what you cook up on Zagara.
I am too, man. I'm gonna just try and kill people. That's I'm gonna go in with what I think the obvious direction is, which is I think they want you to team fight as Zagara, and that's what I'm gonna try doing tonight.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. So, if you're watching live, by the way, we'll be breaking for dinner. We'll be back at 8 or 9.
9 your time.
9 my time. 9 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/AMoveTV tonight. If you're watching live, come join us while we play Team League with patrons. So I think it's going to wrap it up for the show, Kyle.
Sweet. Well, I think we got through the information pretty quickly, but this is a lot to digest. We're going to be talking about this multiple weeks. Of course, these releases are staggered, so next week will be really intense on Yrel, but we'll also be looking backwards and seeing what happened to all these tanks alongside her and whose spot she maybe takes over or where she even has a spot. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, man. Again, keep those emails coming, itncast@gmail.com. Thank you again to our badass patrons. We really appreciate the support. As we mentioned, in case you didn't know, Kyle and I do this for a living. This is part of the way we keep a roof over our heads, keep the lights on. So if you'd like to support the show and support the two of us, patreon.com/ITN is the best way to do so. And you can also sign up for the Patreon Bonanzas once you do that. So, also huge thanks to our producers, Declan H and Cheesy Bob. You are both extremely generous, and we really appreciate it. We have swag, t-shirts you can buy over at shirts.amove.tv. We also have custom etched glassware, things like coffee mugs and pint glasses that are over at etched.amove.tv. They're actually custom made by a fan of the show. So go check that out. We're usually live Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern time now. Still seeing some folks here and there confused by the new time, but it's been this way for about 2 months. So in case you missed it, 5 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/JMoveTV on Thursdays if you want to join us live. You can also follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. And we got to thank Goran for our intro music and BrianGriffithMusic.com for our outro. We also want to thank one more time everyone that donated to the Heroes Charity Brawl. We wrapped that up this past weekend. We had it on Saturday. It was 5 straight hours of 10 awesome Heroes creators. Well, 9 awesome Heroes creators and myself raising money for Make-A-Wish. We hit our goal of 5,000. We actually went over it. The GoFundMe page is still up. So if this is the first time you're hearing about it, you can go to heroescharitybrawl.net and make a donation.
I think it's worth saying. You undersold yourself there a little bit, Garrett. Garrett is responsible and now the proud owner of a monkey Brightwing skin, which garnished a $500 donation. And you were a champion for taking on that cause.
I think it was John. I saw him put it together. I'm like, no, John, don't ask me this. Don't ask me this. Why? And he just goes, hey, Garrett, how much of a donation would it take for you to buy Monkey Brightwing? And I was just like, how much do we need to hit our goal? $500? $500.
That's what it took, and it was received. It was amazing.
Yeah, completely bananas. I ended up talking to the gentleman who made the donation on Twitter. In case you want to stay anonymous, I won't mention your name, but dude, you are a hero. Thank you. That's ridiculous. You've done 2 things. You've donated $500 to Make-A-Wish, which should make you feel great, but you've also given me a reason to be happy about having Monkey Brightwing. So it's weird, but thank you for that. So, Kyle, before we go, where can everybody find you?
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. And I am applying for the big old partnership. Been an affiliate for quite a while there, but if you feel like stopping by and giving the channel a follow, it absolutely helps out. I have recently changed up my format a little bit, and from just the wonderful feedback I'm hearing, it's been great. Kristen is now joining me as my co-host. She was a host of the Heroes Forge podcast, which has now moved on as one of those hosts and moved on to work at Blizzard. So she is now available with all her Heroes knowledge, great questions, great interaction with the chat. Check out twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson for Heroes action Monday through Wednesday at 10 a.m. over there, Pacific time.
Sweet. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. All of the podcasts that I do can be found at amove.tv. If you're trying to follow me on Twitter, there's 2 R's and 2 T's and Garrett, by the way, which also brings up my solo show. I have a solo podcast, typically solo, that I do. Usually put it out Fridays, called R2T2. You can find it anywhere podcasts can be found by searching for R2-T2. Play on my name. But this past Monday, I put up a new episode with 4 people on it. Myself, my wife Katie, and our very, very good friends Ben and Abby. We were all in New York a little over a week ago. Got to go to a bunch of award-winning cocktail bars. So if you're a bit of a cocktail nerd, or you're interested in it, or you just like listening to me and 3 of my favorite people in the universe geek out really hard about something we love, it was just a treat to finally get to do that episode because we were all in person. I took over the kitchen table with my recording equipment. So you can go listen to that. It's the most recent episode of R2T2, and it's also over an hour long, which is long for that show. So go check it out. Other than that, nomoonart.com is the only other thing I want to promote. That's my graphic design portfolio. Yes, I still do graphic design. I still take commissions. So if you need some graphic design, go check it out. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. I haven't been this excited for Heroes in a long time, and I'm usually already excited for the game. So I'm so freaking stoked that World of Warcraft is finally coming to the Nexus. It's going to be a good time, even if we have to wait a little over a week for the next Battleground. But take that hype, bring it into your weekend, go win some games. We'll see you next week. Good luck. Have fun.
Take care.
Pew. That's the show.
Ooh, I hope I didn't destroy anybody's eyes with whatever the hell is going on with my shirt.
It was so distracting. I was sitting here just like,
why?
like it's just in the corner. I just not looking at it. And it just kept, I don't know what it is. It's it's not autofocus. It's like it's auto white balance or auto saturation.
Yeah, I mean, this computer is getting changed all the time because it's the secondary stream computer. And last night it was a game computer. So the sound levels and all are getting plugged in, plugged out. So maybe a driver needs installed.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I do not know. But I've never seen that before, so I'm not even sure what to tell you, but it's odd. It doesn't seem to be happening anymore.
No, it seems to be over now, right?
Yeah. Oh, my Lord. I need to post this before I eat, or it ain't getting up. Oh, God. I should probably adjust this so it still makes sense. I'll hang out with the stream for a bit while I post. You gotta run. You feel free, Kyle. Oh, too low. There we go.
Oh man, I know it's probably off screen, but I got one of these. The springy.
Oh,
the springy.
Oh, dude. No, those are so nice. Mine broke, and I haven't bought a new one.
They're not as expensive as I thought they'd be.
No, they're not too bad, but I just had to buy a new mixer, so.
Oh yeah,
One thing at a time. Plus, we had this car issues, so. Brr. That's done. I'm gonna blip the stream real fast. We're gonna go down for half a second. I'll be right back to hang out with everybody while I post the show. But this is just so I can get the Twitch VOD.
Makes sense.